A bizarre look at reality through the eyes of an insane meth head. And then we take a look at a paranormal story that is so terrifying that the person who experienced it has attempted suicide multiple times. Is it possible that you can be haunted by a demon in such a grotesque way that you feel the only way out is to kill yourself? Today on Dead Rabbit Radio.
Actually, I'm a lot freaked out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. My name is Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day too. I know that intro was pretty dour, and this episode might get a little rough, especially that second segment, but other than that, I'm having a great day. Other than having to think about these horrible events, I'm having a great day. I hope you guys are having a great day too. We got a ton of stuff to cover today, so first off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command, everyone get on your feet and give it up for our legacy Patreon supporter, Natty the Nat. Woohoo, yeah, wee-haw! Flying in between our clapping hands, living life on the edge. Let's not crush the Nat. Natty the Nat, you're going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show financially through the Patreon or the merch store, I really understand. I really, really do. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. Natty, let's go ahead and get this party started. Get on your driving gear. I'm going to toss you teeny tiny keys to a teeny tiny version of the Jason Jalopy. We're all going to shrink ourselves down to Nat sizes so we can fit into the car as well. Natty, drive the Jason Jalopy out of Dead Rabbit Radio Command all the way out to the river. Nice leisurely drive down to the river. It's a beautiful river. We're sitting there, fish are swimming, birds in the trees, singing a beautiful bird song, squirrels grabbing nuts wherever they can find them, preparing for the winter. We're not down here to appreciate nature, though. That's kind of boring. What we are here, though, is for him. And you see me point at someone on the opposite side of the river. A man who we will call Todd. Now, Todd has been living down by the river for quite a while. He enjoys the solitude. He enjoys no one being around, which is just another word for solitude, because all Todd wants to do is smoke meth and stim fap. Which, if you don't know what that is, bless your heart that you don't know. You're going to find out in a second. Stim fap. Natty the Nat's like, nope, I'm out of here. Bzz, flies away. Stim fap is a term that's usually used in the methamphetamine community, so you know it's going to be crazy. Meaning, you're doing stimulants, i.e. meth, and masturbating all day long. Now, in Todd's case, he likes to do it down by the river. He's like, ha ha, nature, the warm river breeze on my nether regions as I'm smoking meth and masturbating. He's a man of freedom, a man with no rules. Except for the rules he makes up himself, as in, I have to masturbate for the next 8 to 12 hours. Now, this is a man who truly lives life on the edge. I've read several posts that this guy has posted online. He uses the name Blinksors, twice. I mean, I would imagine a normal person, this would never happen to them. Todd, twice, has infiltrated a military base in the town, whatever town he lives in, there's a military base, and twice he has gotten onto base. He's not a member of the armed forces. He's not supposed to be there. And you go, Jason, he's clearly making it up. He's one of those meth heads that thinks he's like some ninja or some elite soldier. No. He doesn't believe any of that. Both times that he got onto the military base was on accident. I think he's just kind of driving past the guards, not very good guards. They need more guards, or better ones, at this military base. He says the first time he got on the military base because he was going to get his car washed. And he thought the car wash was he didn't know it was a military base, was his excuse. He goes, oh, sorry, men in camouflage with guns, and there's a bunch of tanks nearby and planes landing. I didn't know this was a military base. I thought it was the car wash. I wanted to get my car washed. And the guards are like, oh, well, you're in the wrong place. No, this is not a car wash. Also, where are your pants? Where are your pants? Were you stim fapping? He's like, no. First time he thought there was a car wash, so he pulled down to the military base and they got him out of there, said, you can't be here, sir, it's trespassing. The second time, he thought it was a movie theater. They were showing Saving Private Ryan. He goes, oh, I see these army men. This is the most realistic movie theater I've ever seen. It's like, I feel like the guns are actually being pointed at me. Second time he went to military base, he thought there was a movie theater, and he drove onto the base, and the guards eventually stopped him, and they were like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, sorry. I was going to get my car washed after the movie. What was I thinking? He seems to have relatively good luck as far as all of his trials and tribulations go. Because every time he's on the military base, he's high on meth. He has meth in his car, but they never find it. He goes, they did find my weed stash, but luckily they didn't find my meth or my clonopins, which is another drug. I don't know what clonopins do, but it's, people take them. He goes, they didn't find them. Also, I didn't get to see the movie. Oh man, I heard such good things about Transformers 1. He was detained both times. They didn't let him go. The second time, they towed his car to the middle of the city and dropped it off. Technically, it's his mom's car, but I imagine that was just the military. Like, what's the farthest we can get him from here, but not actually have him arrested where we have to do all this dumb paperwork stuff? Because then he's going to have to sit there, and he looks a little on edge, right? He keeps talking about the river. He keeps talking about Sims fapping. I don't know what that is. So let's just get him off base. But he's in his happy place now. He's at the river. He has his tent set up. He's high on meth, right? Everything's going great for this guy. Everything's coming up Millhouse. But this day, while he's smoking meth, he sees an odd figure walk out of the water. And this is an interesting story because I keep going back and forth. I go, is this a real event or is this meth psychosis? Or something else? He says, I'm down at the river smoking my meth like I do, when all of a sudden I see a woman walk out of the river. Not across the river. Out of it. She's wrapped in a sheet. And the skin that I can see, like she has a sheet wrapped around her, but what I can see, her skin is covered in scabs. Like, damn it, Jason. I thought this was a mermaid, another mermaid story. Maybe a scabby mermaid. Instead of scales, it's scabs. She walks out of the river covered in scabs from head to toe. And we'll call her Susan. Susan walks up to Todd and says, hey, this is going to be crazy. It's going to sound crazy, but I just was in a horrible motorcycle accident. That's why I have these scabs. It's a great way. It's definitely an icebreaker, right? It's a conversation starter. And Todd's thinking, that's a lie. She's clearly a meth head. Because meth heads are known, they're known for a lot of things, right? Erratic behavior, stim fapping, people that you don't want to leave any valuables or even stuff you don't care about in their presence because they'll take it. And also the scabbing, because one of the side effects of doing meth, of copious meth use, is that sometimes you'll start to think there are things under your skin. Bugs. Bugs is a common one, but just really anything under your skin, and you absentmindedly kind of pick at your skin. So you end up having scabs everywhere. Well, she's covered in these scabs. And she comes out of the river and she goes, hey, do you happen to have a blanket? Like, this sheet is, nice. I can wrap myself in it, but it's soaking wet. I just came out of the water, plus my scabs are a little moist. It's starting to stain this sheet. Do you have a blanket I can borrow? Todd doesn't, or at least he tells Susan that he doesn't. He goes, but you know what? If you want something to wrap yourself in, I have a patio chair mat. And she goes, that'll do. I mean, listen to this story. This story's so fantastic. I almost wish I was there to watch this. So this woman replaces her sheet with a patio chair mat, which is not nearly as comfortable as a sheet. Even a dripping wet sheet would be more comfortable than a trifold folding chair thick mattress. This pad. So now she's wearing this pad. He doesn't say that she's totally naked, so I think she does have on some clothes, but now she has this folding chair pad wrapped around her. And then she goes, hey, I'm really hungry. Getting in a motorcycle accident and emerging from the river really affects your appetite. Do you have any food? Todd sighs and he's like, yeah, fine, I have some food. He gives her 3, very specific. If there's anything about Todd, he doesn't say, I just gave her some food. Is what you and I would say. You and I would not be down by the river stim-fapping and wouldn't have seen this, but Todd goes, yeah, you know what? I do actually have some food, and he gives her 3 white Oreo cookies and a piece of a king-size Snickers bar. That was the food that he had to give her. But while Todd is reluctant to give her a blanket, he gives her a mattress pad off of a folding chair, and then while he doesn't really want to give her food, he does give her 3 white Oreos and a half of a king-size Snicker bar. He does say, hey, you know what? Would you like some meth? You want to smoke meth with me? And she says no. I don't really do meth. Now Todd goes, listen, I've seen a lot of scabby women in my life. Todd knows that she smokes meth, but she says, I don't really do meth, which is an interesting way to phrase it. I would say, someone offered me meth. I have been offered meth before. No, I don't want it. That's disgusting. And I imagine that's what you guys would say too. Normally we wouldn't say, nah, I really don't do meth. It's such a weird way to phrase it, because that means sometimes you have in the past, but it's not your drug of choice. Well, anyways, this woman, Susan, the Queen of Scabs, she goes, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we go down to the store and we can shoplift me some camping equipment? Because I'm just going to be camping out here for a while. With you, we could camp together. And this is, Todd's like, listen, this totally ruins my whole day. He doesn't say this to her. But he writes this up and goes, dude, all I wanted to do was smoke meth and masturbate for 8 to 12 hours. And now I got this I got this woman showing up that I could have sex with instead. But no. And so he kind of blows her off. He goes, well, my buddy's getting a hotel room soon, so I'm actually going to be kicking it with him. I'm not even going to be camping here that much longer. And she goes, well, if you do go to the store, let me know. I'll give you a list. Maybe you can steal some stuff for me. And then she takes the mattress pad and leaves. So at this point, Todd has to make a decision. He gives himself 4 options. He says, quote, I just wanted to get high and stim-fap in peace, and a hot scabbed river monster strolls up. Now I want to either A, leave and take my stuff because she's going to try to steal it, B, take her up on her offer and see how this story unfolds, C, go to rehab. That's his third option. It's probably a good one at this point. C, go to rehab, or D, set up camp somewhere else. He leaves us on a cliffhanger. He doesn't tell us what decision he ultimately made. I think it's probably close to D. Which actually, now I think about it, A and D are the same thing. Just leave. He said a couple hours later, he was walking by a bridge in the area and he saw her dancing on the bridge. And then she saw him and started yelling, hey, Todd, give me some water. Give me some water. I need water. And he just left. And he goes, I can sense her presence around here. Like, as he's posting this online, it's been an amazing thing. I know the Barack Obama program to give everyone free cell phones has paid off in spades. Because now everybody has internet access. even the meth head down by the river, able to post about this. He also does, though, mention that he'll go to McDonald's parking lots and latch onto their Wi-Fi as well. So, but he goes, I don't know where she's at. I sense that she's nearby. This scabby woman of the river is nearby, and he doesn't know what's going to happen next. Now, I read that post. I was like, oh my God, this is absolutely fantastic stuff. And I'm thinking of it. I'm like, I was like, this is cool. How can I fit it into my podcast? I'm going to force it in. Is it a scabby cryptid? Is it a river monster? Well, even he refers to her as something. It is unusual that she emerged from the water, right? I do have to say that's quite paranormal. Humans don't normally just emerge out of the water. It's not like he saw her walk from across the lake or river in this case. But is it truly paranormal? Is it just a weird story? You know, we cover all sorts of just bizarre stories on here as well, even if it's not paranormal. But I'm looking at this stuff. I'm looking at his profile, trying to figure out who this guy is. I mean, despite just being a guy on meth who masturbates down by the river. And then I found out he has a blog. I found out he's a poet. And I go, oh my God, dude. I have to go to this meth head's blog. I have to read some of his stuff. I'm going to read, I'll tell you this. I debated this. I'm going to read it verbatim. And there's a lot of cussing in it. So if you listen to this podcast at work, which I've already said, it's probably touch and go with that. But let me read this to you. It's called, this was just written back in April of this year. It's called A Psychosis-Fueled Gangstalk. How can I possibly not read this? But I'm going to read it verbatim. It's not a poem, it's prose, but it almost is like a poem. But it doesn't rhyme. It's not like a cool poem. Let me go ahead and read this. Quote, this was 3 months ago. It's the perfect bag and scenario and your loving life. I'm feeling like the best version of yourself. You can talk to girls, dance, and eat pussy. Life feels like I have a life. I'm important. So important that all of these people are staring, and I keep seeing that black guy everywhere I go, and that Asian. Man, then the people with the fire eyes start following you. But always teleport away when you look at them, not from a mirror at 4 a.m., paralyzed in your car. The 22 firefighters doing the Macarena with eyes of fire disappear when I jump out my car and yell, "What's up, motherfuckers? Scared?" Nice trick, buddies. Smoke and mirrors. Fuck, I am important. Got sexy firefighters dancing for me at 4 a.m. in a homeless parking lot. Then the GPS they installed, and magnets to fuck with my locks, the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth jammers, VPN blockers, they all carried around just for me. I see you all in bushes. Freaking idiots. I'ma pretend I don't care, and really loud at 4 a.m. for an hour straight. Fucking a dude. Why is that girl with really long hair using her mouth to climb that palm tree? I see you, bitch, I shout. Fuck, I gotta go. Fuck. Damn, they are in the silver Kia behind me. Motherfucks are good. What do you fucking want? Does she want this scabbard tweaker dick? McDonald's parking lot. Let's pull in free Wi-Fi and watch porn and act naturally. I don't care if you all are watching. Makes me harder. Slowly things come fading back, and the girl climbing the palm tree was just a palm. The magic from my important world is draining. My stalkers are vanishing, one shadow at a time. I'm no longer important. I'm just a tweaker in a fucked up world. I say goodbye to them firefighters and all. I sit in my car, the sun coming up, and start to smile. Then I start to feel distraught because I won't ever feel like that again. Those otherworldly, surreal mindfucks help me cope with this world, but they aren't unlimited. Your mind won't return to this realm. I still see the fire eyes in the horizon, and I wave every time, like seeing an old friend. Listen, what's so fascinating about this is, I mean, honestly, like, I got chills just reading that. That is brilliant. I went to this guy's blog to find some crazy stuff. That 100% is the secret hidden truth of gangstalking. You are a normal person, but you feel important that you think everyone's after you. There is a mental health component to gangstalking, sure. Whether it's schizophrenia or delusions or anything like that. But the truth of gangstalking is people who feel they are being gangstalked, they feel like they are special. They may not say that, but that's what's so powerful about the gangstalking delusion, because here's the thing. We are all normal. We are all just part of the world. There's nothing special about any of us. I mean, obviously, like the soul, and there's a special spark inside of all of us. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about our place in society. So if all of a sudden you feel like the government is trying to stop you, if you feel like one of the most important person, maybe the most important person in the world, and the CIA and the NSA and your local mailman and the media and the dog groomer and all of that stuff, they are watching you, that makes you feel important. That is such an unsaid part of the gangstalking delusion. And he suffers from it, but only off and on. So he can enunciate that. He can say that. He goes, I feel special when the firefighters, and these are all hallucinations, right? The dancing firefighters doing the Macarena when it's going on, he's like, I'm important. I'm important enough for all of these elements of the natural and supernatural world to align against me. But because it's not a full-blown 24-hour-a-day delusion with Todd, since it's mainly meth created, once the delusion wears off, he realizes, I'm not important. And that was all in my head. And in fact, I wish the delusion would continue, so I didn't have to feel this way. Sitting in my car in the morning, watching the sun come up, realizing I'm just Todd. And there was nothing special about me. Dude, I mean, honestly, like, I was flat out blown away by what he wrote. And it's so, to me, it's so tragic. Because this is a homeless man who's masturbating at the river, who is eventually, unfortunately, going to get shot as he's driving onto a military base, or he's going to get arrested for indecent exposure, or he's going to be dragged to the depths of the river by this scabbed woman, or any other less funny things, right? He could end up getting stabbed to death by another meth head, or, again, incarcerated for some crime for a long period of time. This guy, like, there's just that poem, that prose, that train of thought, that stream of consciousness, a psychosis-fueled gangstalk, that is what we see in so many other people, and that's what we see in him, and he actually is sane enough to realize the difference between the two, and talented enough to write it in such a vivid and compelling way. So, I mean, Todd, I wish you the best. Like, honestly, with so many people who are in the grip of addictions like this, it's not the end. There is always hope. It's a struggle, for sure. But there are points where the hope becomes less possible. And when I say that, I mean right now he's just masturbating down by the river, which that's crime. Obviously, smoking meth is a crime as well. Right now he could go to rehab. Right now he could try to figure a way out of this. Once he ends up committing some sort of horrific crime, now he not only has to deal with his addiction, but now he has to deal with 10 to 15 years in prison. So that's when the hope meter kind of gets a little bit, and maybe that would help him clean up too. But fascinating stuff. When I went to his blog, I thought, oh my God, this is going to be hilarious. I'm going to read this guy. I mean, because think about what he was already talking about. Stim fapping and scabby women and all sorts of stuff. And then I found that, I go, that is the perfect description of someone who feels like they're going through the gangstalking delusion, because he goes through that. And he wrote it in such a powerful and evocative way. Definitely has a lot of potential to be an author, to be a storyteller, to be a poet. Unfortunately, he's wasting a lot of that talent hanging out by the river, smoking meth and masturbating all day long. Like, definitely put a cramp in your hand, obviously, but also in your time that you could spend writing. But fantastic. I read that. I go, I wanted to share that with you guys. That's probably, that poem had more cussing than every other episode up to this moment, but I didn't want to neuter it in any sort of way. I wanted to read it as he wrote it, because I think it is quite powerful. Quite powerful. Natty the Nat, let's go ahead and toss you the keys to the world famous Carpenter Copter. We are going to leave behind this river. Once again, Todd, we wish you the best. We truly do. You have a lot of talent. Natty, why don't you fly us all the way out to... Ooh, this story's rough. I don't know why I paired these two up. Natty, let's go ahead and toss you the keys to the Carpenter Copter. We're leaving behind the river. Why don't you fly us all the way out to a house in the suburbs? This story is very interesting. It's quite short. When I first read it, I go, what? And then as I thought about it, I go, this actually is so troubling. This is actually such a... I mean, we often talk about demons and demonic activity on this podcast and how they're not always necessarily out to kill you. That's a lot of the movie stuff, but definitely to ruin your life. It's not like a demon will get you addicted to drugs, but they can make leaving that lifestyle more difficult. Type of thing. They like to corrupt man, corrupt families, corrupt societies. And they're all about the long game. You're talking about entities that have existed before time did. They were here before the earth was formed. So they're not on a punch clock, right? They'll take their time. But then you look at stories like this and you go, oh my God, like, if this is a demonic entity who did this, I mean, somebody in hell's going to win Employee of the Month. Because this is straight up demonic. I mean, there's no other way to put it. They're like, yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Terrifying. Let's take a look at this story. Recently on the X board, there was a thread where people were talking about, like, what are some creepy or weird or unexplainable one-off events that happened in your life? So not like a continuous haunting, but just like something you couldn't explain that happened once, you're never able to figure it out. And people were posting things on there. I think we've actually covered a few from that same post. Among all these stories people were posting, one person, who we will call Clark, asked a question and kind of set the stage for an absolutely bizarre story, haunting, event, ongoing event. Clark asked the question, quote, what if a ghost child sexually assaults you and you're paralyzed and can't move? Unquote. And I remember reading that and I was like, what? like, I guess grammatically I got it, but it's such a bizarre question. What if a ghost child sexually assaults an adult? So Clark is an adult. What if a ghost child sexually assaults an adult man while he's paralyzed? Couldn't do anything about it. So you go, sleep paralysis. This guy had some sort of nightmare, maybe. But he goes on to explain, and he says, listen, this is my huge problem with this issue. Clark says he's not a pedophile, which I believe him. Right? I think most people aren't. I think most people can make that statement. And you're like, yeah, of course. That's odd that you even had to say that. But in Clark's situation, he goes, listen, I'm not a pedophile. I'm not a pedophile. But I had this experience where I was paralyzed and a ghost child sexually assaulted me. And now I'm so disgusted about the whole event. I'm disgusted with myself, Clark says. Clark goes, I know I was paralyzed and I know I couldn't stop it, but I should have tried harder. I should have stopped it somehow, and I didn't. And I'm disgusted and I hate myself, and the only way out is I need to die. Clark says that he has already tried to kill himself multiple times because he was sexually assaulted by this ghost child. It's interesting when you look at it, what he's going through is the way that a lot of people who are raped or sexually assaulted deal with it. Say these things. I should have tried harder. I didn't fight back hard enough. So they take the blame. They start to feel like somehow they created that situation, or once that situation was started, there were ways out and they didn't take them. I should have done this. I should have done that. I didn't do those things. So I am to blame. That's very typical in human-to-human sexual assaults. He's saying, no, it was a ghost kid. And, I mean, obviously we don't know the specifics of the situation, and we don't really need much or really any information. Unfortunately, we can imagine it, but sometimes, when you are sexually assaulted, man or woman, you can... You're like, Jason, wow, I know you're building up to something. I can tell your speech pattern. When it comes to sexual assault, sometimes it's unfortunate because it super complicates things, but sometimes people who are sexually assaulted, their body reacts in a way that their mind doesn't. People can become aroused, victims can become aroused during a sexual assault. Even though they don't want it, even though they're 100% fighting against it, resisting it, the body is a physical mechanism. You put gas in a car, the gas tank will fill up, whether or not the car wants more gas. It's just a physical, that's a bad example, okay? But you know what I mean? Like, there are certain mechanisms that happen that are almost out of the control of the conscious mind. So I'm wondering if that was an issue with Clark here as well. His body was reacting it, and it made everything even more confusing. He didn't want it to happen. He tried to stop it, but he couldn't. But he still wishes that he had tried more, and his body may have reacted in ways he may have become aroused by this, and that makes it even more confusing. That's typical. That happens a lot in sexual assault cases. And again, it reinforces into the victim even more shame. Because they go, well, I didn't want it. I tried to fight back, but I did get aroused and I don't know how to deal with that. Now, you go to any counselor who deals with sexual assault, they will tell you that the body just reacts how it reacts. Even if you don't want it, men and women can get aroused while they are being assaulted. It's horrible because it adds an extra layer into the victim's brain. It makes it extra confusing. So Clark could go to a specialist and talk about this stuff, but he goes, I'm afraid of the repercussions. I'm afraid that if I go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist and tell them this, they might think I'm a pedophile. And I'm not a pedophile. And I don't want anyone to think that. So I would rather kill myself than to deal with this. And it's not even an ongoing thing. It's not like the demon's coming back each night, which most likely that's what this is. We have no account anywhere, any haunting. There are pervert ghosts. They're rare, but they exist. We have zero accounts of a child ghost, the spirit of a dead kid sexually assaulting somebody. I mean, there might be one out there. There might be more. It'd be horrifying if there was, but a demon could easily do this. A demon could take the form of a kid, sexually assault this guy, and basically ruin his life. And possibly end it. He's already tried to kill himself multiple times. And he is telling himself, listen, the only way I can even possibly cope with what happened is if in my mind I realize that is actually not a ghost child, but a demon disguised as a ghost child. If Clark goes, if I think of it as actually being a kid, ghost or not, I want to blow my brains out. I want to kill myself. And I've actually tried a couple times. Absolutely fascinating / terrifying story. This is a guy who's truly suffering. And the thing is, too, he posted on this anonymous message board. We'll never know what happened. Other people were posting going, that was the demon, dude. That was a demon. Like, stay strong. Having his back. I believe it was probably a demon as well. I will say this is a philosophical argument. Even if I did think it was, and you might actually, this might be a philosophical argument. You may go, Jason, you're just a bad researcher. If I knew for a fact, let's say that this was a haunting I had investigated, and I knew for a fact it was a ghost kid who did this, I'd lie to the guy. I'd go, yeah, no, that was a demon. Even if I knew for a fact. Is that bad, actually? I think I'm making a moral choice to save a man's life over the choice of people are like, dude, you're the worst paranormal researcher ever. You would actively lie about a haunting. That's a tough. Here's the thing: the short term would be to save this dude's life. This is very specific because now people are going to go, Jason lies when it comes to ghosts. That's not what I'm saying. Short term, we'd save this guy's life. Long term, I'd probably take a hit to my reputation if it ever came out that I actively lied to somebody. If I said, oh, no, you're right. That is a demon. That's not really a ghost kid. You know, I mean, it's super. So now I'm like, oh, should I even leave this in the episode? Why am I even talking about this? But I do think it's a demon. I do think you're like, yeah, Jason, yeah, right. Now we don't trust you about anything. Probably is a demon, but interesting. If you, okay, let's put it on you. Let's put it on you. If you knew it was really a ghost kid, would you admit it to this guy? Because think about what he's suffering with. Okay, the reason why it would backfire is that there's kind of different ways to deal with demons versus dealing with ghosts. So if you try to deal with it like it's a demon, but luckily a lot of them overlap, right? A priest isn't going to show up and be like, oh no, I didn't use the second letter of that exorcism. I thought we were dealing with a demon. Ghost kids beating them up. Luckily there's a lot of overlap between the two, but I think if you did lie to someone actively, and they go, oh, okay, well if it's just the demon, I'll do this, that, and the other thing to get rid of it. But it doesn't work because it's a ghost instead of a demon. But really, if you think about it, this malicious of a ghost, sometimes I think about it is, it's like you're spraying for bugs. You have a special gunk in your bug sprayer meant for killing crickets and worms. And this house has a cockroach problem. It's probably not going to work the best. That's this horrible analogy. You're like, Jason, anything that kills a cricket will not kill a cockroach. Okay, let's do it backwards. I get assigned to rid this house of cockroaches, and I get there and it's not infested with cockroaches. Instead, it's infested with crickets. But luckily, I have this superpowered insecticide that'll kill cockroaches, so I just spray it on the crickets all day long until eventually they drown. The job's done, right? The house is toxic for the next 50 years. It becomes a super fun cleanup site, but the end result is the same. All the crickets are gone. I think that if you had a house that had a ghost child or a demon, a malicious ghost child or a demon, you would figure it out. Like, again, I'm saying not him. He'd have to bring in an expert, either like a priest or a religious leader or someone who's an expert paranormal researcher. The first thing they come in, they go, "Hey, dude, I don't know who you talk to. That Dead Rabbit Radio guy here, he lies all the time. That's a ghost kid. That is not a demon." And the guy's like, Clark's all freaking out. I would just be like, no, just get rid of it. Get rid of it. Don't tell him what it is. It's terrifying, though. I can understand where he's coming from, right? He feels like he has nobody to talk to about this. He posts about it on an anonymous message board, which I'm glad he did, because other people came out and said, yeah, no, it's just the demon, dude. Don't kill yourself. Don't freak out. You got this. But he doesn't know really who else to talk to. It's such a bizarre and terrifying haunting. And the most hurtful part, like, I feels like, because he's internalized all of this. He goes, I'm not a pedophile, but this happened. So how do I deal with that? I can't, therefore I'm going to kill myself. And he's tried to kill himself multiple times. And now he goes, well, it wasn't a kid. It was actually a demon who's been around before the first star shown in the universe. So it wasn't a kid. He still knows that it was wrong. He still knows that it was an assault, but it allows him to kind of cope with it a little bit more. But let's say that he wasn't able to. Let's say that the first suicide attempt took and killed himself. And his friends and his family would be like, what? Oh my God, Clark killed himself? Yeah, he didn't show up at work, so boss sent one of the workers out to check out his house, and, what? I never thought he would kill himself. I know, we didn't have that suspicion either. And, all that stuff. All those unanswered questions, and nobody would guess, wow, he did it because he had a horrific paranormal event that shook him to his core, and he couldn't deal with it, so he killed himself. Luckily, he survived the attempts. Luckily, he's talking about this now, even anonymously, so other people can, assuage his fears. But you wonder, is this a tactic that's been used before? I almost feel like it had. I know I said that. I can't think of any time in research where a ghost child has sexually assaulted someone. But I think that Clark's story they wouldn't talk about it. Most people would not report this haunting because it's just so weird. Most people would not talk about this. So it could be happening more, and people aren't talking about it because it's so insane, or they feel shame from it, or they did kill themselves. They did end up taking their own life because they couldn't deal with the shame and the fear and the confusion, and they were afraid of what everyone would think on two levels, right? One, that they're insane because they think ghosts are real and demons are real, and then two, because of what the ghost child did. Both of those would make people ask so many questions that some people would either never talk about it, and a small group of people, right, may not be able to deal with it at all and end up taking their own lives, or drinking away the memory, or engaging in these self-destructive behaviors so they forget about what happened that night. But it would just be demonic activity, breaking human souls, destroying humans' will to live. Truly demonic activity. If this story happened even just once, if it only ever happened to Clark, It's disturbing and tragic and life-ruining. Without proper therapy, can really change the course of Clark's life. If it happened just a single time, it would be one of the darker moments in paranormal lore, making a man believe he's a pedophile. If it happened just one time, truly, truly a demonic act. But if it's happened more than once, this is a common tactic of these demonic entities that are constantly trying to ruin lives. In an ongoing war between the battle of good and evil, this might be the most underhanded tactic possible. Taking a good man and making him believe he is evil. Making him believe the only way out of that evil is to end his own life. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is @DeadRabbitRadio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day.